Okay, hello everybody, this is Clayster, and here's a quick tutorial on how to use the Sci Fi Laser Swords and how to make them glow. As you can see, I already have Muvizu opened up in an empty environment. I added a little night atmosphere to it, added a directional light, gave it a blue tint, so uh, which this sort of light too will also be great for a nighttime fight with the lightsabers or laser swords, if you will. So, all right, but we're going to simulate lighting inside of a ship or corridor. So let's add our first light. Lighting is important for these swords to work. The light is the source of its energy. It gets its power from the light. So we're going to add the first light, which would be a point light. Okay, we'll move that up. Now the distance that it's set on is great too. If you're using a big area to fight in or play around in with the swords, this is fine. Okay, that is fine. And we're going to keep it like that. Okay, now the next light is uh, spotlight. We'll add a spotlight. Move it straight up and down. Let's bring it to where the point light is. About like that. Okay, let's close this box. Now let's right click on the spotlight and adjust its cone angle. Way out there. Let's soften it up some. There we go. I'll move that back out. I'm going to keep the colors of both lights white. And this is the light of the environment. So, okay. Now I got the light. Okay, so we'll move this character back from right here. Okay. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to right click on the character, go to its edit options, and then we're going to choose arms. And in arms, it doesn't matter right hand or left hand. I'm right handed, so I'm going to choose the right hand. And then we're going to click import. Now, if you have a sign, two files in there named label and sign, those aren't important. You can delete those. Those just for advertisement. I forgot to delete them out. Okay, these three files are the blades, the actual things that glow. Okay, you got the blue, red, and the yellow. Okay, and these over here, sword blue, sword green, and sword red, those are your handles. These are the parts that goes into your character's hands. So I'm going to choose the sword green. Okay, let's zoom up on him a little bit. Let's spin him around. Let's spin him around. Now let's turn that straight up and down like so, and then let's kind of like move it back like right there. Okay. Now let's close these. Now let me explain something to you. In order for the laser swords to have its glow, I had to break them into two pieces. Okay, the handle, which he'd already have in his hand, for the attachment, and then the blade as an individual object separated from this. So the reason why is, see, both of these, the handle and the blades, are in ASC format. ASC format is the only format I think so far that has the ability of transparency. Okay, now, and the transparency, we control that through the option of opacity whenever you import it. So if I were to import the whole thing to the character as an attachment, you will not have the option to choose opacity. And without that opacity, you will not have the glow of the character. You'll just get disordered textures on the whole thing. So this is the only way I can make it to work. Okay. Okay, so that means we'll import the blade separately as an individual object. So we'll create and then import. As you can see, they're all ASCII formats. Okay, and we're going to use the yellow. The yellow is used for yellow and green, and I'll show you. So let's click that, open it up, and then when the import window pops up, we're going to keep the ID texture default. Don't use ID texture. We're not going to click that. We're not going to change it. But in the map alpha 2, make sure it's set on make sure it's set on opacity. That is very important. Opacity is its source of the glow. Sort of like the light. Okay. And then the next one, we're going to keep that. We're not going to change that. But in the facing, we're going to make sure it's set on double-sided. That is very important also. And then you click OK. That's right there behind the character. Oops. Let's right click on that and go to its properties, and then in the physics, unclick can be stood on, and then click float in the air and close that. Now let's spin the blade around. And you see it's got a real good glow because of our lighting. Okay. Now if I move that blade way out under, it still has its glow in the night. So you can also add a green light to make that brighter and still not interfere with the night atmosphere. Okay, so let's move this into position. So see this part here of the blade? That is the part that goes into the handle. I made them like that so it will be easy to know which end goes where. Okay, now let's make sure we got it straight. Let's see, a little bit too close in. About like that. Okay, that looks good. Okay. Now let me explain more about the light and the color. Okay. Now if I created another light and put it right here, you see how another light added makes that brighter. The radius of the glow is brighter. Okay. But I can adjust that like so. So we're going to keep it right about like that. Now, right now it looks green and yellow. So actually that's a yellow sword. So I click yellow and then brighten it up a little bit. The better effect you get on the color. Okay. Now if I change it to green, then you have a green lightsaber. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep it right there. Now if I change it, you see, if I change it to, oh wait a minute. If I change it to blue, it won't have any effect on the color of the sword, only the environment. So if I change it to red, again, the same thing. Okay? Only the same color of the sword affects it. It makes the effects better. So it's important to have either yellow or green, like so. So we'll keep it green. We'll keep that. Also, whenever you're animating the sword, You can also animate this light to follow the sword. So you move the sword up here, and you move the light up here. Animate it. Gives it a better effect. The glow is following the sword around, shining on the character's face. It'll be shining on objects in your environment. It adds a really cool effect to it. It makes it more realistic. So we'll add one over here, then I'll copy it, and then I'll add one over here. And as you can see, it doesn't affect, these lights doesn't affect the environment too much. Okay, alright. So we got our lighting set up. We have our uh, laser swords imported and in position and ready to go. And the next thing to do is to animate the sword. Now I'm not going to go through a whole animation process because I'm trying to make this short as I can. Okay, so alright. So first thing before we animate, we need to add an action to the character. So let's go to prepare and then go to action. Now these characters, all their actions, they really don't have actions for any sword fighting. So this kind of makes it hard. This is one of the disadvantages, or the main disadvantage, of having a sword or a lightsaber or any sort for the characters, because there is no actions there that will accommodate the swords. So you kind of like got to try to fake it as much as possible. So we'll find an action that will look good. Well, that's for the left. You got the object. Point left, point right. Let's see. Point right. Thumbs up. Oh, okay, yeah. We'll use the thumbs up. And we'll just pretend like he's showing off his sword. Click that and then go to switch to direct. And let's pull that uh, timeline out a little bit like that. Now I'll keep it at the beginning. Now let's record that action. Thumbs up. There we go. Stop. Let's do that again. I made it too long. Right there. I'll delete that one. We got the thumbs up. Now, let's go to the beginning of that action and add a cue point. Go to the end of the action and add another cue point. Whoops. This is important for the beginning and the end of the animation of your sword. So let's go back to the beginning, to the first cue point. Okay. Now right click on the sword and then go to direct and movement. Okay. Switch to prepare and then click on keyframe. Then switch back to direct. You see we still have the two cue points. These are our beginning and end markers. So if we move that slider, we see the animation of the action on the character. So go back to the first cue point and then add that keyframe. Okay, now let's get closer. Let's get on the side, about like that. Okay, now let's drag that slider slowly forward. Let's see. As you can see, right at this point here, if we animate that sword to that point, okay, the sword is going to go straight through his face. That's what I'm saying. There's hardly any actions at all that will accommodate sword fighting. So, let's do this. Go over here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that works. So I say you gotta fake it. I do a lot of that in my videos because of the actions don't accommodate what I'm looking for, so I have to fake it. So, and you can see there's a little alignment problems there in between the two the keyframes. So let's drag it forward to right here, and then let's fill in the gaps in between. Well, and you can see right here it's out of line. So let's add a key point to fix that. And we're not going to move it to where it'll go into his face. We're going to keep it like that. You see how that looks? We're not going to change that, because if we did, it'll go right through his face. But if you look at it straight, it doesn't look like that. Okay? So, let's back up again. Get it. Okay. That looks good. Now, like if you work your way down the line, back and forth, in between keyframes to see if there's any unalignments. You just add a keyframe and then straighten it up. Okay. Now we got one right there. Okay. And if you already have a keyframe in place, and if you slide on it, and if it looks a little bit out of line, you can adjust it, and that keyframe will still remember that position you put it in. All right, let's move it forward more. Okay, we got it right there to the end. Now let's add that keyframe. Move it into position, back where it belongs. Let's straighten it up. A little crooked there. Okay, now let's back it up some. We'll add a keyframe there, straighten it up a little bit. Let's bring it in more into that handle. And on the side, and we'll put it in right there. Okay, that looks good. Slide it back more. Add a keyframe there. See what it looks like. And then put it back into position. Like so. Okay, that's good enough. Now let's just say he's got it pulled out. Alright. And he hasn't turned it on yet. Okay, let's do this. Right click on the blade and then go to this edits property. And then we'll unclick visible. Now you see how that sword looks? It's made up of planes. Each plane has a transparent texture of a color. Okay. Now, where's our camera? Let's move our camera into position. Like that. Okay. Now, to make it look like he's turning on the lightsaber, we'll right click on the blade and then go to direct. And this time we're going to go to direct properties. Okay. And then we're going to switch to prepare. Alright. We'll keep this on laser blade yellow. And then we'll, on track, we're going to click image and then visible. And then we're going to click keyframe. And then we'll switch to direct. Alright. And we'll add a keyframe and not click current. Okay. Now let's go like halfway right there and then click and add a keyframe. And then click current. Now let's see. I'll play that. See? He turns it on. Let's adjust that camera and get a better look. I'll go right in the front of them like so. Go back. Now let's play it. There we go. Anyway, that's it, everybody. That's how you use the laser swords and how to make them glow. And I hope this helps out. Anyway, I hope this helps out those who bought a copy of the Sci Fi Laser Swords. So, anyway, y'all have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you later.